Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Curtis and this is the Kurt Locker. Today I'm going to be telling you about my 4 key strategies that worked for me cutting out 20 pounds of body weight in the last 2 months. Now realistically here, I've only lost 19 pounds. I came all the way down to 20 when I got the flu earlier this week, so I'm just going to go ahead and count it even though technically that 1 pound of water weight has returned. But over 2 months ago, I started to really set a non-specific goal of shedding some weight. And it had a lot to do with inspiration from people like Alan Thrall, who are able to train at a very high level of intensity while still having a somewhat modest food intake. And his videos have actually kind of forced me to do a little bit of self-reflection, and this is the result of that self-reflection. The biggest things that I wanted to be able to do was to lose a little bit of weight, and again, a non-specified number. I was weighing in between 233 to 235 pounds on a daily basis. It kind of depended on the day, and what I would do is when I got closer to a competition, I would simply water cut down to 219 to 220 so that I could weigh in and compete as a USS strongman in the 220 weight class. The big problems that I have with dieting though are that I kind of hate bland foods. I really enjoy food. Food is a very important part of kind of my life. I'm good at cooking. I'm good at preparing foods. And so for me to just resort to eating white rice, chicken breast, and broccoli every day for the rest of my life, although I would probably get results with that, it just really doesn't do it for me. So I wanted to have good foods, maybe just kind of pull back a little bit on some of the things that my body didn't need so that I can enjoy life. Also, I've got a family, I've got kids. They don't want to eat that crap either. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to lose weight while still being able to train at a high intensity, and I would say that I've done that. I mean, during the season last year, I managed to pull a PR deadlift for myself from the floor of 605 pounds, and then the other day on a whim, because 545 pounds went so well, I pulled 585 at 20 pounds lower body weight. So the strength is still there, the body weight is down, I feel good, I look better naked, and I'm gonna tell you guys my 4 strategies that I used to get there. So if you want to train hard, eat good food, and maybe get a little bit healthier, stay tuned. Strategy number 1 was essentially just to do what I've done for years, maybe just do it a little bit more honestly. Tracking food has always been something that I've done. Now, years and years ago, I started tracking food using MyFitnessPal like every other person out there. And what attracted me to MyFitnessPal was how easy it was, the size of the food database. You could scan like the barcodes and it would automatically import all of the nutritional information for that. In MyFitnessPal, they eventually got bought up by Under Armour, and now it costs money for the barcode scanner. And so I started looking at other options, and during my grad school years, which I'm technically still in, came across a program called Cronometer as a recommended free application for a lot of my performance nutrition classes that I had to take. We often had to build meal plans for athletes based on goals, and Cronometer was really cool because one, there's a free version. You have to deal with the advertisements if you have the free version. But the other cool part about Cronometer, which I will have linked down below and I have no affiliation with, I don't earn any money for this, is you can have a web-based version of that platform, so you can log onto it from a computer and you will be seeing your account on the computer that you see that you're on your iOS device or on your Android device. For me, I thought that was really cool because you're able to do a little bit more meal planning, and doing it from a computer is just generally a little bit faster. It looks good. You can do a 7-day meal plan really easily in Cronometer that way. And like I said, completely free of charge as long as you can deal with the advertisements. Now, I used Cronometer for years, but I wasn't really trying to lose weight. I was just trying to keep track and make sure I was hitting my macro targets. Where I started to really be successful in weight loss is around October last year. I downloaded MacroFactor as a recommendation from literally everybody that knows anything about Massonomics. Now, MacroFactor is not free. There is no free version because MacroFactor has an algorithm or AI or whatever it is based protocol that helps you lose weight based on your goal, but also based on your calorie intake. But on this, the need to be honest became more and more and more apparent, because a little thing that I used to do when I would keep track of my macros is, let's say that I had a good morning and like low fat, low carb, high protein breakfast, you know, a moderate fat, moderate carb, high protein lunch. And then I get to dinner and it was like something unhealthy, like, I don't know, a cake or something. And I would just choose not to log it because I didn't want to own the fact that I had actually had like a cake. Or, you know, that's a bad example, but you get what I mean. Like, you'll see a recipe and you're like, well, that's going to throw me over my calorie limit. And so I would just conveniently not log it. Now with MacroFactor, you want to own it. You want to make sure that you're completely honest. And really, that's the second part of my keep a calorie counter or keep a food log of some sort, is to really be honest with it. Because if you use something like MacroFactor and you omit meals because you think they're going to blow you past your macro or your total calorie intake for the day, it's actually going to completely jack up your algorithm that's inside of the application. And the next thing you know, you're going to start at like a 2,300 cal per day goal, and it's going to go down to 22, and then 21, and then 19. And then I got all the way down because I was lying to my food log. I was lying to myself, which is really interesting. I would be willing to bet that some of you out there are doing that as well, but I would just kind of lie to myself, lie by omission, and I would omit certain meals from my food log. It got all the way down to where MacroFactor was like, well, this guy can't lose any weight at all. So he needs to get 1,600 calories per day. And I really kind of had this moment sitting in my office at work where I was like, how in the heck am I supposed to get that low of calories and be able to still train? And that's when I really kind of had that epiphany and did a big reset with MacroFactor. And that was about 2 months ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to log everything. So there's days where I hit my calorie goals and there's days that I don't. There's days I go way over. But I own it inside of my food log. And when I do my daily weigh-in first thing in the morning when I wake up, it really has made for a more successful weight loss journey. And like I said, I'm down about 20 pounds. The big question that I always get though is, what are my macro splits? Now, macro splits, I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to tell you what MacroFactor tells me my macro split should be, and it should be 215 grams of protein, 89 grams of fat, and 183 grams of carbohydrates. I can tell you right off the bat, the number one most important one that I try to hit is that protein intake per day. I try to get about 1 gram per pound of body weight, and that comes to 215. Some days I'm a little bit low, some days I'm a little bit over, but that for me is my number one priority. The other two matter a little bit, but you know, not as much, but it gives me a ballpark. Most days I end up right around those numbers though. So those are pretty good numbers if you're looking to match my anecdotal experience. Now, just a quick thing on this, probably should have said this at the beginning. I am not a doctor. I am not a dietitian. I have never studied dietetics outside of 600 series courses and a grad program. So if you need professional advice when it comes to your diet, you should probably go see like a doctor. I'm not your guy for that, but this has just been my experience. But you don't have to track your food forever. Just kind of keep an eye on what you're eating, and you really start to develop good habits. So for me, this leads me right into strategy number 2. While I was using those food applications honestly, I developed a couple easy and consistent meals that I can have every day. And for me, if I can start my day off right, I know that generally speaking, the rest of my day is going to go pretty good. And so what I do is I have a couple meals. There are weeks where I will straight up meal plan, and I'll have beef, rice, and vegetables for lunch, and I'll have those planned out throughout the week. And then you have most weeks where, honestly, I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I don't eat out. I'll make most of my food, because that's another big problem that I think a lot of people have, is that they eat out so often, and there's so much extra calories and butter and fats and all the things that make all that food that's out at restaurants taste so much better, and that's why you're not being successful in your weight loss journeys. But when I started making my food at home and developing good habits, I basically came to these 2 meals that I highly, highly, highly recommend. So I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I will do dishes and watch a YouTube video or read or study for my grad program. And then I'll go out in the gym and I'll work out, and then I'll come back in for my workout. And that's my first planned meal. It's about 120 grams of egg whites. I measure that out using a scale. I crack a whole egg in there, because 100% egg white recipes just don't taste good to me. So I gotta have a whole egg in there. And then I'll throw like 10 to 15 grams of cheddar cheese grated in the pan or just in the food afterwards, just to give it some flavor. Again, like egg whites don't taste all that good. To me personally, I don't like them, and I like cheese. And then I'll wrap all that up inside of a carb balanced tortilla. There's a couple different examples out there. I'll go back and forth between Mission and some of the other brands. But the whole point of the carb balanced tortilla is to get the extra fiber that's in there, because that's why it's carb balance, is because it's fiber in there, which technically doesn't count against a carb. Again, I don't really care about that. I'm just looking for the advanced fiber. Why does this work for me? Because it's immediately after my workout. It's a moderately low fat, easy to make, high protein little meal made with whole foods that occurs right after my workout. And I'll pair this with my Daily Essentials multivitamin from UXO Supplements. And the reason that I pair it right there is because it has the prebiotics and the probiotics. It's got all of my micronutrients that I'm basically buying insurance on, that I like and that I need. And like I talked about, the prebiotics and the probiotics really do help me with the digestion of all of that, or at least anecdotally, I feel like it definitely does. I've taken that stuff for years, and I can tell you that when I run out and I choose not to fill my cabinet with more, I tend to have digestion issues, if you will. And then when I get the multivitamin back in, everything bounces back to normal. So again, high in protein, low in fat, moderate in carbs, plus I get the extra fiber, plus I'm getting the pre and the probiotics mixed in with the Daily Essentials. Now, the second meal that is sort of a pre-planned meal that I have every single day. And again, it's another UXO plug. I am affiliated with UXO Supplements. I do get a very small cut of everything if you guys use the links to purchase, but you also save like 15% if you use my code. So I feel like it's a pretty easy, quid pro quo there. But it is 5 grams of UXO Gilly Greens, which is their green supplement, which just kind of helps me, again, get that extra insurance. But what I really love about the Gilly Greens is that it has KSM-66 ashwagandha in there. So that really helps with any sort of anxiety that I might feel, because as someone who suffers from PTSD and other, cognitive problems, I take whatever I can get, and KSM-66 for me is one of those things that's really beneficial. What I'll do is I'll mix that with 4 ounces of orange juice, 6 ounces of ice cold water, and then I'll throw in about 200, it's in between 190 and 210 grams of Greek yogurt. And I try to get the stuff from Costco. For me is a really good one, because the Costco Greek yogurt is relatively inexpensive. It's a high quality Greek yogurt. It's high in protein. And the reason I say 190 to 210 is it's literally however much is on the spoon, and I'll scrape it off the spoon. And usually it'll be between 190 and 210, depending on how much I scoop it out. And I also mix that with 10 grams of creatine, which pairs with the orange juice. So the orange juice is there for a little bit of flavor, but it's also there because there are some studies that show that there could be a better absorption of creatine if you pair it with vitamin C. And so that's what that 4 ounces of orange juice is for. I got that Greek yogurt idea from a Mitchell Hooper video. It's been an absolutely game-changing tip. Highly, highly recommend it. I love doing that. Now, I like to drink that shake after I get to work. We'll be at like a morning meeting or something. So it's a couple hours after breakfast, maybe an hour and a half, and I'll have that shake, and it's just enough. Basically, my small breakfast burrito will take me so far, and then my shake takes me another bit further, and all of that costs about, I think it's like less than 500 calories in the morning. So I'm getting almost my entire morning at less than 500 kcal. So that's a huge benefit. And like I said, it's got that protein in there to really help just start the morning immediately after my workout. The key takeaway here is to find a couple meals that work for you. For you, it might not be your breakfast, it might be something else, but have a couple things that you can have every single day. Like if you love peanut butter and jelly, like figure out how to measure your peanut butter and jelly so that you're getting a really good split, or like find some good quality ingredients. That's just an example, but if that's your jam, which I love peanut butter and jelly too, and I do actually measure out my recipes when I make peanut butter and jelly, because I want to know how much fat I'm actually getting, because a lot of people don't realize how high in fat that peanut butter is. And again, I don't care about the fat. The reason I care about well, I do care about the fat, but the reason isn't because it's fat or I want a low-fat diet. It's because fat costs you 9 kcals per gram of weight. And that's a huge amount of calorie-dense food. And so if I am going to have fat, I try to have my fat with like meat sources because I really like red meat. So I'd much rather spend that currency, that calorie currency, on something like a steak, which I love, versus something like peanut butter and jelly, which I also like, but I maybe don't love. All right, strategy number 3 is just get more steps in, people. Go for a walk. Go put your feet and stick them in the grass. Be healthy, get outside, see the sun, get more steps. I'm not telling people to go get 10,000 steps either. This one's really simple because I think a lot of people, when they hear go get more steps, what they hear is weight loss, get more steps, I should go run. Now, I do run twice a week as a part of my weekly training protocol. It's not very hard running. It's long, slow distance. But what I try to do is I just try to get some extra steps at lunch specifically. So again, you could set a 10,000 step a day challenge if you really want to, or what you could do is keep track of like how many steps you normally get and add 500 per week or something like that. Because you also might be someone that jobs like crazy. Like maybe you're a bricklayer watching this video and you're walking 20,000 steps a day. This doesn't apply to you. You're already getting all the motion that you need. Who this mostly applies to is people that have more sedentary jobs, people that work inside of office buildings, or maybe they have more of an administrative daily thing. Try to just get up, get around, move. Specifically, getting a lunch walk after you eat can be really beneficial too. And again, go outside, put your feet in the grass, go be a hippie for 10 minutes a day and get like 500 to 1,000 more steps. I promise you it will work in your favor eventually. The way I get more steps in is at lunch, like I just talked about. I'll go downstairs. If it's super cold outside, I'll just walk on a treadmill for like 5 to 10 minutes. I try to move quickly, like mall walker style, trying to get as many steps as I can without running. But if it's nice outside, go for a walk outside. And here's the best part. Don't listen to anything if you can help it every once in a while. Like just take in nature. It's pretty cool. At home, I did build a desk, which I'll do a video on later. Me and my wife, we both do a lot of work at home as well. And so I built a desk that's like a standing desk. It adjusts from sitting all the way to standing. And I also got a walking treadmill. I think I finally found one that doesn't suck. And I'll be doing a video on that shortly. But stay tuned for that. But those are how I get most of my steps in. But on Wednesdays and Fridays specifically, I do tend to get a lot more steps in, and that's because on Wednesdays and Fridays, those are my programmed running days. The big takeaway there, if you are a sedentary person, move, it will help. That brings us to strategy number 4, and that's gonna be managing your stress and logging your cheat meals. Okay, how many of you kept a food log and then you lie to yourself? Just be honest, don't have to raise your hand, you don't have to comment. I know you're out there, because I was there. I would lie to myself, which is kind of silly when you think about it, because I know me, why would I lie to me? But I was doing it. I was hurting myself by doing it as well. So instead of getting stressed out about missing macro targets or calorie targets, just own it. Just own it and get past it. Identify why you're making that mistake. Maybe it's because you're bored. And maybe instead of being bored, read a book or go take a walk or something. Really, a lot of it comes down to like, I wish I had nice words for this, but I think that most people snack because they're bored. They don't have anything to do, and so stuffing their face seems to be like the most easy thing to do. And the reason I say that is because that's what I would do. I would get to the end of my day and there'd be snacks around the house. And so I'd stuff my face. But here's the thing is like, if you're going to do that, just take a smaller amount and stuff your face. With that smaller amount. Start with that. Maybe just start by like, instead of eating chips out of the bag, like put them in a bowl, but then measure how many calories you actually ate and throw that in your food log. And that way you're taking accountability for what you're eating. It's a really simple thing, but it's surprisingly difficult to do in reality. Another UXO supplements product that's really helpful with this is getting any of their new protein flavors. Now, they have strawberry shortcake. I can tell you that right now, I have strawberry shortcake, vanilla, and I have the birthday cake. And those three are my jam. They taste super good. They match up with foods that in real life I really like. And the protein tastes like the food in real life that I really like. So what I'll do is towards the end of the night, if I do find myself getting bored and with that urge to snack, I would much rather slam a protein shake that has some sort of benefit, is somewhat low in carbs and fat, and high in protein, than to, like, I don't know, eat 1,000 pistachios. I only say that because I had a handful of pistachios with lunch today. But the big thing here is you don't have to cut out all the bad foods. One thing that's really common in our family is we will go and get Dairy Queen. The reason we get Dairy Queen is because my daughter has celiac disease and their hot fudge sundae is pretty low risk of being cross-contaminated with gluten, because if you didn't know, gluten is in everything. So it's super stressful for us. So we'll go and I tell you what, every single time I get in the drive-thru of Dairy Queen, the large blizzard is calling my name. But instead of getting a large blizzard, maybe get the medium, maybe get the small, maybe get the little tyke size or whatever that one's called, like the mini. But making those kind of smaller decisions has been better for me than completely cutting them out. Because if I completely cut it out, and again, I'm big on food reward. I love food. I love ice cream. I love sweets. So I would much rather have a smaller amount of sweets than no sweets at all. It also helps me because I'll get super stressed out about it. And I would much rather have a smaller amount of something that has a bad effect on my daily food log than to have a large amount and it just blows it out of the water. So again, you don't have to completely cut out the bad things. Just try to have less of them and then see if you can come up with some sort of positive replacement. Again, that's where that protein really comes in handy for me. The fifth strategy, which is a bonus strategy, is just to be consistent, people. And it's okay to have days where you blow weight past. Those are my 5 tips. So you want to track your food, being honest with yourself, have consistent meals every single day, just a couple consistent meals. Breakfast for me, that's my easy one. Increase your daily activity, whether that's gonna be your steps or you're gonna, I don't know, throw a sandbag at lunch or something. I don't know. There was someone I knew in Texas that would bring their Cerberus throwing sandbag to work with them, and at lunchtime they would go throw it. So talk about a little bit of stress relief plus some conditioning there. You're just increasing your daily activity, plus you're getting outside. The fourth is to allow cheat meals, but make sure that you own it and you log them so that your MacroFactor doesn't get screwed up. And then of course, staying consistent. Not perfect, just stay consistent and show yourself some grace. What I want to hear from you guys though is if you have gone through any sort of weight loss before, what goals or what factors helped you in your weight loss journey? Because when you share them below, everybody else is going to be able to see them. So let's hear it. What worked for you? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Don't forget to check out UXO supplements. You do get 15% off. If you're military and law enforcement, don't forget to get your military discount or law enforcement discount on top of that. I believe they use GovX to verify your identity for that. But yeah, the UXO stuff will all be plugged down below. But that's been it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Those are my 5 tips to lose 20 pounds in 2 months. And I will talk to you guys next week.